Because emotions are not bad, and the worst thing that you can do is try to stifle it, bury it under a rug, you know? Clamp your hand over it, not let it come out. Honor your emotions. I mean, accept that it's happening in your body, you know? Let it all out. Don't bottle it out inside, because if not, again, it just, the stress just rises higher and higher and higher, until just finally you just explode for absolutely what seems to be no reason at all.
Exploring the human journey.
I used to think that life handed me the short end of the stick, that I was one of the unfortunate ones. But then I realized that the power lies within me. It comes from me, and I can be who I want to be, achieve what I want to achieve, and live the life that I do want to have if I find the power and the strength and the inspiration and the courage within myself. I'm Dr. Marga Macias. I'm a health and wellness mentor, and I help people optimize their health, their energy, and their focus so they can be the best version of themselves and also live the life of their dreams. I've been a doctor for 28 years now, trained both in the Philippines and the United States. Over the course of my career, I've helped thousands of patients and their families overcome the most stressful situations with regards to their health and their wellness. Through this process, I've also helped people mentally, emotionally, to be in their best fighting form, the strongest spirit they have, so that they can overcome whatever obstacles are in their way. And in Birthright, I help to find that inner power in you to help you achieve the life that you always dreamed of having. I almost lost my life in 2008 to a ruptured aneurysm in my brain. I've been a single mom for 20 years now, but then I still fought through, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. I'm not resentful for whatever happened, and I just realized that all these things gave me knowledge and skills and inspiration to keep on fighting and going forward, and that's what I want to share with my clients. I work with stressed, overworked people who feel like they're in a rut, not knowing what to do and feeling that they have no hope. They come to me when they're feeling that they've tried everything but nothing seems to work. And this is where I come in. As a doctor and mentor, I help to optimize your health and also keep you in the best possible state of mental and emotional stability so that we can combine the two and make you the best version of you. The most powerful result I see with my clients is when there is a complete transformation, when something clicks inside, a fire is lit, and they just go for it. Nothing brings me more joy and fulfillment than to see somebody who was broken or lost or scared become laser focused and determined and live their life to the fullest. For those who think that there is no hope, that this is as good as it gets, well, let me tell you, I was in the same boat, but I changed myself. So it can be done. I promise you. My greatest hope for my clients is that not only do they survive, but they thrive. They're happy, content, optimistic, hopeful, driven, and loving life.
Hi and welcome. I'm so glad you joined us. We are so excited. We get to introduce you to our friend, Dr. Marga Macias, and she's amazing, and she's an author. I can't wait to tell you all about her. Marga, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You have been just an inspiration to us this weekend as we all got to meet at the 5D event.
Yeah.
And you are really helping people who are in that pain spot and they don't know how to get out of it. They have gotten apathetic, they have lost their will. And so through your journey, through this whole human journey you've been on, you've been able to take what you had to do within, and now you're helping other people to be able to do that.
Yes, because there's nothing worse than feeling alone, desperate, you know, and where you don't have much support to go by. Or when you feel like you've lost your strength, your will, your drive, where you feel that life has been so unkind to you and beaten you up, and you go through so much pain and challenges. To go through it alone is very, very difficult. And I remember, because of the circumstances that happened to me, there were many times where I felt by myself. And what I would have loved so much to have somebody guide me, lead me, and saying, this is the path, just take it one step at a time. I'm here for you, I'm here to guide you. I would have loved to have that in my life. And I don't want any person to ever feel alone. And that's why I wrote my books, because it's my life story. And it shows them that, I was in the trenches with you. I was once broken. And I was once betrayed. And I was once so badly hurt emotionally, mentally, and physically. But yet I was able to overcome this. And so I'm not speaking from the pulpit. I'm with you in the trenches. I've been through that. And so I was able to overcome this. So this is what has helped me, and I want to help you.
I noticed in your book, you talk about how you got a degree in biology, and then you went on to medical school.
Yes.
I also got a degree in biology because I thought maybe I'd be a doctor, and nope. You got to be smart. You got to be dedicated and diligent.
Oh, come on. You're smart.
Well,
you just didn't want to do that kind of smart.
Well, the difference between maybe your journey and mine is that I met this cute girl when I was in college, and I spent a lot more time not studying with her. Her name was Gail.
Yeah, that's they're always trouble, right?
She's still, oh boy, let me tell you what, stories. So through that journey of figuring out, okay, what is it I want to do? A biology degree led me into other interesting areas in my life, but I never went down that medical path. And you did. Something connected. Did you know you wanted to be a doctor before you went into the undergrad work?
Well, I am the firstborn child. And my parents are both doctors. So it was like, you follow the path.
Yeah.
Here's what you do.
Was there expectation that you'd be a doctor there or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it wasn't my first choice. My first choice was interior design.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's a little bit opposite.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Arts, music, and all that. That's my passion. I really love it. I sing. I love art. I love to try to paint.
Aren't you just a bunch of surprises?
Yeah, you never know what life's like. You would expect, right? But then, I was a follower. I've always been a follower.
Oh, boy.
And so as not to disappoint my parents, my mom said, this is, she says, what next? I said, well, I want to be an orthodontist. What next? And I said, well, I guess that leaves medicine. And she goes, now you're talking. And so
she's asking you what you want to do, but she's telling you,
Yes, and that's why it was difficult to go through the times where you had to stay home. And remember, I'm the firstborn.
Yeah.
So I was in pre-med. Well, the rest of the family was still in high school, grade school. Yeah. So they got to go out on weekends and enjoy, and I had to stay home and study.
Yeah, biochemistry coming up.
And to be home and saying, I want to do this, but I have to. But one thing about myself is that if I say, okay, this is my choice, this is my decision, this is what I'm going to do, then I'm going to give 100% effort. I don't like doing things half-baked. It's either all or none. And so if I say, okay, I'm going to go down the path of medicine, I will. Yeah. So that's what happened.
Oh, that's so good. So I identify with that. I'm a firstborn, and I'm more in the artistic, creative. I'm a musician. I enjoy the creative work, but yet I have that science ability, that acumen. So that's got to be quite a dichotomy to thrust yourself into the science realm. I mean, chemistry and whatever the mathematics that it requires to do that. I remember we had math for biology majors. It was like the simple, the dumbed down.
You know what math is for me? Brain freeze. You show me numbers like, no math, please.
So I think it's interesting in your work how you are going into this science from that creative perspective, and then you chose to be a pediatrician. And so that creativity, that kind of that nurturing ability that you have by putting things together creatively, how did that serve your practice and with pediatricians as a pediatrician?
I looked at it as, interior design. I redesign a space and make it better. So I do my own redesigning, but of the human person. Yeah. I'm an integral part in molding them from the childhood, from their babyhood all the way till they leave the practice at the age of 18. So I guide the parents. I help them through the rocky road. So in a way, and then now from what I'm doing, so it's in a way, redesigning people.
You're totally them. Interior designing.
Yes.
You should just put that on your card. Dr. Marga, Interior
And
designer.
then the interior of the psyche and the soul, you're an interior designer. I love it.
I know.
But, I still celebrate music. I still celebrate that part. I never lost my love for that one. In fact, it was my lifeline, my saving grace when, it's funny because I was in med school, but I spent most of my time in rehearsals because I love to sing. I took voice lessons. I used to sing classical music, arias, operas, those mini versions. And so when I was in med school, to keep my sanity, I joined the choir and I sang. So that was my release. That was my outlet. Same with sports. I love sports. So I was in the swimming team. And so my mom used to joke and say, remind me what career you're in again, because it doesn't seem like you're spending time in medicine. But I might not have been the #1 student, but I enjoyed life.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
It's interesting because I'm listening to you both. Your moms wanted you to both become doctors. And you both had this passion to play music because that's what Dave loves to do, is he loves to play music. So it's interesting to see how both of you guys had that same base desire and you're both kind of moving out, or you moved out of it, way moved out of it.
So what was your perspective on life that you were given? What tradition? Did you have a religious tradition? Did you have a narrative you were given?
Well, I was raised strict Catholic.
Oh.
So you went to church all the time. You did not sin if you sinned. You went to confession. There are certain rules that we had to follow.
Yeah, anything that's fun is a sin, right?
It puts a lot of guilt in your mind, right? When you kind of stray,
Bam.
you have to follow and then all that. But then, that's how they were brought up. So that's how they brought me up. But is it wrong? Not necessarily. They did the best that they could. And I applied what I learned. And I didn't necessarily shove it down my children's throats, but I said, here it is. Here's the church. Here was what I was brought up doing. But you make your own decisions.
Yeah.
So I let them do what they wanted. Of course, but then by that time, I made sure that they had, the principles of respect and love and, treat each other well, so that no matter where they went, they were not hurtful to other human beings, that they knew how to respect life, respect people.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things I think you get in that religious structure is you get a right and a wrong, you get a moral compass, you get don't hurt people. And now the shame and the guilt, of course, they're sprinkled in over top of that. And,
a lot.
A lot.
Maybe you feel weighed down. But you have a sense of like, if I tell you I'm going to do something and I shake your hand, then I'm going to do it because, you don't want to lie to people. And I think that's a real positive thing I had,
absolutely.
As far as a foundational. And then it gave me a sense of community. I had people that I loved and loved me in community. So I'm not saying that, all of that tradition is wrong, but I am saying there's things that, boy, if only I'd have known that I could enjoy my life without having the guilt and the shame involved there.
Absolutely.
I think that was, for me, was something very important.
Yeah. But at the same point, it's really, those are the experiences that have given us our life path. The things that we need to uncover and discover and, come out of the pain and the shame and
nothing happens by accident. There's always a reason why. There's a reason why you left biology or you did not pursue medicine when you did that. There's a reason why I stayed through. And no matter what we think is left to chance, no, there's a reason, there's a purpose for our leading the life the way we are. What brought us to this place we are now.
Absolutely.
You give presence to the purpose that you have. You came here for a reason. You came here for a purpose. I love that. I've done a lot of studying on, what happens before we were here for spiritual beings having this human experience. And I've learned about pre-birth planning, how a soul and a soul guide kind of determine the course for the direction of your soul. Have you had any experiences where you feel like, I definitely wanted to have these experiences, or have you had any connection kind of on a soul realm in that regard?
Well, no. I mean, growing up, it was pretty straightforward. You stayed in the right path. You follow this way. I knew nothing about the spiritual realm or any other thing. I just knew that this was where the path you were supposed to follow. You don't stray, you stay there.
Yeah.
But then, obstacles come in, challenges, and it changes your viewpoint. And then, experiences in life, traumas, illnesses, then it makes you think of something beyond that. And so, I thought, okay, this is my life. Oh my gosh, yes, it's so hard, but I'm doing the right thing, so I'll just stay here. And then when, things kept on falling one on top of each other, and it felt like my world was crumbling, it all came to head in 2008 when I had my ruptured aneurysm.
Oh boy.
And then I realized that it is a miracle that I survived, because even my own neurosurgeon said, I cannot believe that you are here before me, able to answer my questions, that you did not drop dead with the amount of blood we found in your brain.
Oh my.
Wow.
And so that was my awakening, and that was it just opened my mind to everything that I had not seen. I mean, the higher God. I mean, the God, my purpose here in life. That was my wake up call to know that, my goodness, I was given a second chance.
Oh.
Am I going to continue to live this life? I was meant for something bigger. There's a reason why I survived what I did.
Yeah.
And so, because I could have been snuffed out right there, but no, I survived. And that's when I started to explore and see, what else is my purpose here?
What's the circumstances of the aneurysm? I mean, what were you had a medical practice? What happened there?
I was a single mom. I was living in Maryland. My children were still relatively young. And it was one of the darkest periods of my life, because I was very depressed in my job. I was taken for granted.
Okay.
I was not respected.
You were working as a doctor?
Yes, and
Okay.
but I was forced in that situation because, being a foreign graduate, you had to work in an underserved area.
Oh.
And more often than not, you're used, overused and abused.
Yeah.
And so, but I was stuck. I couldn't escape.
Kind
I
of
had to
slave
feel-
labor type of thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had to fulfill my contract.
Oh, boy.
And I remember, there was even a clause there. If you left before the 4-year period is over, you owe $250,000.
Our daughter is kind of in that paradigm. Only it's with education, and it's not that much money. But
Yeah.
she's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so every day was a struggle. It was very, very hard to be in that situation. And then, a single mom with 2 small kids, long hours of work. I'm exhausted physically, mentally, and then emotionally, because my father was diagnosed with cancer in 2007. So I'm depressed, I'm overworked, I'm exhausted. You throw in my father's cancer,
Right.
and it was a very aggressive kind that we knew that he was not going to survive. And I'm a daddy's girl,
Oh.
and to be so far away from him,
Yeah.
because my family's in the Philippines, it just tore me apart.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the person who I was with, who I found respect again. I mean, he respected me. He honored me as a woman, who made me feel loved and cherished again. He started to pull away. And so I said, what more can I
Right.
take, And then, then the final boom was that, that the aneurysm on top of that.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I was screaming, why me? How can this be happening? I'm supposed to go home to my father. Why give this to me right now? Why keep me here? I want to go home to my dad. Why is life so cruel? Why is life so unkind?
Yeah.
Why is all this happening? But, when you're in that moment of great despair, there's no thinking. It's just full of emotion, But then, as in many things in life, if not all things in life, when you look back at what happened years back, so when you look back at what happened, you realize that everything happened for a reason. And I'm thinking, if I didn't have my aneurysm, I probably would not have been allowed to go home to see my father before he was dying.
Oh.
But that aneurysm, number one, happened in Maryland, where I was under the best surgical care, you know, with my neurosurgeon, absolute, you know, God sent for me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was there at the right time, and of course there was a recovery period, so I was forced to not return to work.
Right.
It gave me the chance to go home, spend 4 days with my father, precious days, before he finally passed, and then come home to mourn before I had to go back to work. So just when I thought there is no God, there is no higher being, there absolutely is a God.
Boy.
Wow.
Did you have a near-death experience? Did you have any connection with anything?
When I had my aneurysm, no, but there was a knowing that I might not survive, because I survived the initial bleed, which my neurosurgeon said 50% of you just die on the spot. And I have countless friends who have had it, and right there on the spot they died.
Wow.
And then he said, you know, there's within the first 2 weeks is a very crucial period, because you can have a stroke and bleed. There's so many complications that can happen. You can come out of the surgery with deficits, because my aneurysm was in the dominant side of my brain. And the most crucial part, which controlled my memory, my thinking, my speech, and everything. I said, imagine if I didn't recover from that, there goes my career.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was thinking right before the surgery, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Wow.
And I remember almost resigning the fact that I might not survive. And so I was saying goodbye to my children. But my little girl, she says, Mom, you can't go. We need you.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, what am I thinking? I can't just give up. I have to fight. And then I was speaking to my dad long distance, and he said, please fight for me. And I just, and you fight for me too, Dad, because we're going to see each other.
Oh, wow.
So he was really dying, but he held on. And I fought.
Yeah, you did.
That will to survive.
Yeah.
And then until we finally met again, and the first thing we did when we saw each other, he said, what a miracle this is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it looking back, it may seem tragic, but there's so many good things that happened from that.
Yeah.
Just the gratitude that you can get
Yes.
out of that is
Yes.
amazing.
And those precious times with my father, the moments I will never forget, because it was then that, you know, he promised me, I'll take care of you even when I'm not here. And so I knew, you know, when it was passing, when I saw him so sick, I said, I can't, as much as I want you here on earth, it's cruel for me. It's selfish of me to
Yeah.
want to keep you when your body is so broken.
Yeah.
And so we let each other go, but he lives on forever.
It's beautiful.
So, you know,
You shared a really beautiful story today in the presentation you gave about working with a little boy that was around 12, and you taught him how to fight for life through his parents. Share a little bit about that story, because
Now-
I see that connection there.
Was that after your aneurysm?
Before.
Or before?
No, it was
Okay.
before.
Oh, my.
Because I was still in Chicago training under pediatric ICU. So I was in Chicago, and this child was rolled in. I was just about ready to go home and see my kids after working. I was on call the night before, so it was like practically 36, almost 24 hours in the hospital. And then that this critical kid was wheeled in, and so I had to stay because I'm a fellow in training, so I couldn't go home. And I had never seen a kid so literally dying before my eyes. The only thing that was keeping him going was the breathing machine and all the drugs that we were pumping into him just to keep his heart going and keeping the circulation going.
Wow.
And so I worked with him all night long. I did not leave his side. I even ate right there, watching him, watching every move. And my boss, he was so exhausted that he was in the back room just sleeping. And I said, he's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to take care of this kid. And, you know, days after days that happened until he was finally really losing it. I mean, his organs were starting to shut down, and we thought it was the end. At least they thought it was the end. And so they prepared the parents, and they said, you know, we've tried everything we can, but he's not going to make it. So prepare yourself, because, you know, any moment now we can lose him. But then when I was with the child, who I knew so much, I knew the family. They were like my family, because when you work with them every single day, you know them, that you become a part of their lives. And I remember going to him and, you know, touching his hand and looking at him. And I said, no, this child has not given up. He's wanting to fight inside. He's wanting to live. I do not feel that his spirit is gone. He is right there. And so, you know, when they was told, be prepared and all that thing, and they were even talking about organ transplant, and the parents were devastated, I remember closing the door and I said, I don't know where this is coming from, but I asked you to please trust me. I said, your little boy is still there and he's fighting. He wants to fight. So please do not give up. Please hold his hand. Tell him, I'm listening. I'm here. We're going to fight with you. We are not going to give up. And I promise you, I'm going to fight with you. I will not give up on him. We're going to make this. But please, please, please remind him. Let him know that you're here with him. And so they would take turns, grandma, father, mother, you know, round robin.
Wow.
Talking to him, caressing his head, saying, we're here for you, exactly what I said. And he slowly improved enough to be able to leave the ICU. And unfortunately, when in the ICU, you don't see them afterwards because somebody else takes over their care. But like I shared today, I was in the ICU and they said, there's a visitor for you. And he rounded the corner and there was this little boy, his name was William, walking to me and saying, Dr. Macias, Dr. Marga. And he hugged me. God, I was crying like Niagara Falls. The tears were coming down my eyes, you know, my cheeks, because to see this miracle, to see his strength, you know, and how he survived, and to see that, and thank God we didn't give up on him. Thank God, you know, I was able to pick up that he was still trying to fight. So I told his parents to help him fight. And his mother shared with me after. He says, tell Dr. Marga what you told us. And he said, I heard you talking not to give up on me. And thank you for fighting for me, because I was trying to survive. He says, how did you know this? Because we had to medically induce coma. So we gave him drugs so that he would not feel any pain, so his body could relax and so he could recover. So there is no way he could have really heard anything. But when we asked him to describe how it was, he said, I saw myself on top of the hospital bed, looking down at my body, lying down. And granted, this is you know, I'm sorry, it wasn't 12, he was 9. And looking down at my body, and you talking to Nana and telling Nana, talk to him, you know, Williams is there. And that helped me fight even harder. And so thank you for helping them fight for me. And thank you for fighting for my life.
Wow.
That was powerful.
So you have, within you, you had this intuition where you could really sense and feel somebody's soul, that essence of them, whether they really wanted to stay or wanted to go?
Yes, I found out afterwards, because there were some times that, you know, I come into a room and I was, you know, for instance, there was a 7-month-old baby and she was a shaken baby. And so she had, you know, blood in her brain. But I stepped inside and it was completely gone. So I didn't fight. I didn't encourage the parents, because I felt that her soul was no longer there. So, I mean, those things that you know, you pick up afterwards. But then now, I mean, I'm able to pick that up in humans. Like, you know, you can walk, a person can walk by me, and all of a sudden I feel very, very heavy.
Yeah.
I feel the pain. It's like the cloud, you know, the walls.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, if I try to help if they are willing to accept my help and try to get them past this. But, you know, sometimes it's a blessing that you do that, but sometimes also it's very difficult, because then I experience, you know, pain, like headaches or back pains, because, you know, like for instance, today I was, you know, someone wanted to try to work with me, and so she wanted to try how it is to be with me, or how I do things, and it was just, she stepped into my my field, And it was like a turbine engine, and like a hamster on the wheels. There was this dust cloud all around her. And even if I was trying to talk to her and try to heal her, there was just, I said, there's like a brick wall. I mean, like a fortress between you and me. It's so hard to penetrate. And then she had shared her experience about, you know, her military training and how she had to fight and how she had been beaten and hurt in so many ways. And so it was very difficult.
So
and
she like had this brick wall that she had built,
goodness.
and that's what you were feeling.
Yes.
Literally.
And so, of course, you can't do anything, you know, in the 30 minutes that she was with me. But I kind of gave her like pointers on what to do. And I gave her my information so to let her know that you don't have to go through this alone. That I'm here to help you. Because it's, when you are going through something alone, sometimes it feels like you're drowning. You know, when you're just trying to come up for air, but then you sink again. And there's nothing worse than feeling like you're hopeless, where you're just too exhausted until you just finally give up.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that really struck me today in your talk was about that emotion, letting it flow through instead of getting trapped in our bodies. Talk about how sometimes if we're like, nope, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm okay, and, you know, and we're not letting that emotion work through us, how that can physically react to our bodies.
Yes, because emotions are not bad, and the worst thing that you can do is try to stifle it, bury it under a rug, you know, clamp your hand over it, not let it come out. You know, because the more, it's like a child who has a tantrum. The more you try to cover their mouth, what are they going to do? Scream even louder.
Oh boy.
So temporarily you can silence them, but then afterwards you let that go and it comes out even stronger. So you've got to, you know, honor your emotions. I mean, accept that it's happening in your body. You know, let it all out. Don't bottle it out inside, because if not, again, it just, the stress just rises higher and higher and higher, until just finally you just explode for absolutely what seems to be no reason at all. So it's important to, you know, be in touch with your emotions and honor it. So you feel like crying, you feel like screaming, you feel like punching a pillow, you feel like, you know, like cursing if you want to, but, you know, let it out. Because after you accept it and you honor it in your body, and after you say, what I usually say now is like, I acknowledge, you know, sadness and my sadness in my body, and I accept it, and please just help me heal. And so when you calmly, like holding a child in your arms, you say, it's okay, I'm here, I hear you, I respect you. Then the tantrum dies away, and it's replaced by a lighter feeling. So it's just crazy how everything comes to play.
Well, even that energy gets stuck in the body and manifests itself in physical ailments. I mean, one of the favorite books that we've got is, you know, what's your body telling you about all the things, and it's like, oh, my neck hurts. Oh, are you being stubborn about something? You know, they give you examples like that. I'm like, oh.
I guarantee you my aneurysm was because of what was going on with me.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, I mean, I was at the lowest point of my life.
Oh, my.
Yeah, people don't realize how stifling those emotions, how they affect your different pieces and parts of your body. And I have began to tune in every time I feel a pain, and just immediately going to that place and just breathing into that spot. Otherwise, it stays.
And it gets stronger.
And stronger and stronger. And then sometimes it's really hard to get over it. Yeah.
Have you helped counsel people with physical pain to find an emotional connection that releases that? I guess the comedy is here that you're a doctor. Well, I can prescribe a muscle relaxer, or I can help you. I'm just saying, you're like, well, I can go either side of the fence, but if you deal with the problem rather than the symptom, how much more effective is it?
Exactly. And if there is a solution that can be done the natural way, by just revising your lifestyle or changing your bad habits, then I am going to go for that. You have to almost, you know, you have to force me to prescribe a medication. I will absolutely not do it unless it's 100% necessary. Like, I don't give antibiotics left and right. I don't give a pain medication because you abuse the way you eat your food. Like, I have teenagers, oh, my stomach's burning, I feel bloated. I have so much gas. I feel like fire, like an ulcer. But then you realize that morning, noon, and night they snack on this super spicy hot food.
Oh,
And then so they say, give me medicine. I said, no, I'm not going to give you my medicine because there's a way to fix that. You fix that, and that problem will go away. I will not give you a Band-Aid fix for something that you can change.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
in a sense, yes, I have my medical background, but I am not for drugs. I'm not for medication unless it's absolutely necessary. If it can be fixed by just changing, making tweaks on your lifestyle or your habits that have been hurting you, then I'm going to make sure I work with you to do that.
So you're kind of coming at it from that more holistic.
Yes.
Even though you're not a naturopath,
No.
you've learned it's the way to go.
Yes.
Yeah, and more doctors need to do that.
I know. That's what just gets me, all riled up when I see you came from the emergency room and did this. I said, oh my goodness. But then, so even if it's one voice, and even if I teach them, hopefully and eventually more people get to do it that way too, or they understand so that they don't look for artificial ways to heal themselves.
That's good.
It's because it's the easy way.
Yes.
Or they think it is. It appears to be the easy way, but really it's not.
No.
It's
They're
gonna
doing more
last
harm to their body.
so much longer.
Yes.
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 What advice do you have for people that have been in an abusive relationship where they have a significant other that is either physically or verbally abusive for them?
Well, the first thing is to realize that, it's not your fault. And as hard as it was for me to realize that too, I learned to put myself in their place and see that their reaction towards me was not because it was a malicious intent from the start, but the turmoil that was building inside them, and the outcome, the reaction, was the only way they knew how to handle stress based on their lineage or their upbringing. So if I reacted this way because I was upset, and you reacted that way because you were upset, if I don't think I'm wrong, then who am I to judge you?
Yeah.
And so when you realize that it's not about you, that it was not, bestowed upon you to be, hurt by people, or that this was not, you're born here, let's give this person the worst life ever. No. I mean, there's always something to grow from that. And by realizing that, then it helped me to forgive, because if I saw the situation from their point of view, instead of feeling anger, it's more of like, I'm sorry you felt this way. It's not right, but then I don't hate you. I understand as much as I can. The pain will not go away.
Yeah.
The memory will not go away, but the pain is not going to drag me down.
Share some of your
that's
personal background and some of your story that you've worked through.
My personal story.
Yeah, with relationship.
Oh my goodness. Well, yes. Like I said, I was always a follower.
Yeah.
So, and when I got married, since I was in such a sheltered background, and he was strong, very, very strong, and he wanted things done his way. And I was happy to be a follower because all my life I had been a follower.
Yeah.
But then, you start to have children, life happens, and then sometimes I would try to voice my opinion because maybe this would be better, or what about this, or what about that? So the problem became the problem was the stronger I became, the more there was conflict, because the follower was now questioning, or the follower was trying to speak their voice.
Yeah.
And when you are used to being followed religiously, and all of a sudden someone contradicts you, sometimes there can be clashes, sometimes you just learn to part ways, or sometimes you just react, violently.
Yeah.
Start to feel your authority of your own self.
Yeah,
Yes.
and in my relationships that have not succeeded, the underlying story is always it was. I was not the person who I was months or years after.
Okay.
But not because I turned evil or cruel or mean, but I grew. And so we were compatible because they were there and I was here, ruler, follower. But when the roles reverse, or not really reverse, but when there's like a conflict, you know, when you grow in strength, or you grow in wisdom, and they don't like it, then that's what happens. Like the other, relationship, he was not in any way abusive, but after 8 years together, he decided that he could not, because he loved it when I was broken and needing someone in my life. So he took care of me. He helped to bring me back, to a steady being, feel good about myself again. But then as I grew stronger, ironically, instead of celebrating my growth and my step forward, he started to feel castrated about how he felt when he was with me. And therefore, without warning, he decided he couldn't be with me anymore.
Wow. What do you think that codependency is? It's like there's some people that need to be taken care of and other people that need to be caretakers.
I know. But the thing is, it's okay if it happens, and it's okay if things part, but, sure, it broke my heart. I mean, major relationships broke my heart. It crushed my heart. But then, you grow from it. And no matter how you try to mend and fix it, it's not the fit anymore. So it's better to move on with lessons learned, stronger and wiser, than to try to stay in a toxic environment where you start to hurt the people around you.
That's good.
Remember, I'm a mother, so I could not put my kids through that too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I had to make a decision for myself and for them.
Yeah.
Because I could see it starting to happen before my eyes. And, my kids call me Mama Bear, especially my daughter. Mama Bear kicks in and says, I am going to protect my young.
Boy,
I will not let them go through this path. I will not let them see violence. I will not let them see disrespect.
Yeah.
And so, it was a very, very scary move, because I was now in the United States by myself. The kids were young. I was in pediatric ICU, hardly going home. And all of a sudden, everything was taken from me, and I had to fend for myself. I didn't even know how to cook. And so I had to learn to do everything. And, I had to find a babysitter to stay with them full time, because I worked, 8 to 5. And some days I had to stay over on call and not get back till maybe 5 o'clock the next day. Or if somebody got sick, like little William, I think the maximum was there was 72 hours before coming home.
Wow.
And so somebody had to be with my children. So my salary went to them, went to the babysitter. And yes, things were difficult, but my number one profession is and always will be motherhood. And that takes priority. And so no matter how exhausted I was, when I came home, I made sure that I spent quality time with my children, even if I was exhausted. And one of the, as I evolved and grew, and I wanted to be honest with myself and be honest with my children. And so I felt the need to have a conversation with them as they were older. Already, my son was in his early 20s and my daughter was in her later teens, and have a conversation and say, I know that, I just feel I'm sorry for not being able to give you the life that I had really hoped and to give you. I wanted so much to give you an intact family life, but life led us the other way, and I'm sorry if that cost you pain. And I just say, I love you with all my heart, and so does your father. And what happened was between him and us, and there were times that I know I hurt you. But at that point, at that stage in my life, that was the only way I knew how to handle things. Just like,
you did the best you could.
Yeah, you did the best you could. The best way you knew how to cope with stuff. And one of the, and then my daughter and I had a heart-to-heart conversation. There was a lot of tears. And what my son said, and he's usually very stoic, he's my wise man, and he said, Mom, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And he said, it's because of you and what you did that made me the man that I am now.
Wow.
Wow, he is a wise little guy, isn't he?
And he said, if I were to have kids, I want to raise them the way you raised me. Because I owe you my success. I owe you the principles I carry. I owe you my life structure. You know, the way you raised me up. So thank you so much. And I'll pour through tears again. But see, you know, life has its ups and downs, but even in the low parts, there's always something to be thankful for. That's why I practice gratitude every single day.
So good.
It's so crucial. That was my lifeline. And yes, we were dirt poor. I didn't have money to take my kids anywhere when I was giving half my salary to the babysitter, when I had no energy left. And, you know, the most I could do was bring them to a fast food restaurant because that's all I could afford, you know, on a Sunday, period. But, you know, but we found ways to be happy. And one of my favorite memories was, you know, in a little tiny living room, there was a futon that folded out. We'd go camping on the weekends when Mom didn't have to go to work. So we'd pull out the cushions. We'd all camp in the living room. Sometimes put some drapes or things on top of us so it felt like we were in a tent. And for me, the happiest memory that I will cherish till the day I die is lying in the cushion with one child in each arm.
Oh, yes.
And smelling the tops of their head. And I said, I'm in heaven right here. And so that's what I taught them. You find happiness in the smallest things. Because there's always something there.
It more comes from us, right? Like what we think we should give our kids when it's like they don't really need all that. They just need us.
They need us to be there. They need us to give them the respect too. They need us to understand them. They need us to give just love. Pure love. Unconditional love.
Oh, that's so good. Now, you've written a book about diabetes, and then you've talked about your personal journey in Birthright. Give presence to the writing that you've done and your authorship. And, I mean, just to sit down and start pounding out words that create sentences into chapters and put them into a book, you know, first of all, that's an amazing feat just to be able to do that. Talk about this process and how you're sharing the things that you know, whether it's in, you know, more of a medical thing or more of a personal thing. Talk about your authorship.
Well, like I said, when I survived the aneurysm, I said there's something more to do in life. And so I said, but I don't want to be confined to the four walls of the clinic. And so how do I get my message across? First, I started by writing the books. And the reason why I wrote Turn Diabetes Around is because it's a growing epidemic. There's so many, and I'm not talking about the type 1 diabetes where it happens. You know, there's a malfunction in your pancreas. Well, that we cannot prevent. But then the type 2 diabetes that's brought about by obesity, you know, and there's a growing epidemic. And so I said, I see more and more young children with it. And so I wanted to make something simple enough for them to understand, easy enough for a family to try to incorporate so that they can reverse it. Because I've had success stories, both with adults and children, who I mean, by teaching the parents, reverse the diabetes. And so, you know, that nothing fuels me more than to see that there's fruit to the labor that you put through. And so that was the medical thing. But then there was always this, you know, my life's journey, because people who were close to me, they always said, you know, you were such a remarkably strong woman. You need to write about your experiences so that people can learn from it. And so I think it was like a year and a half before I started to write Birthright. And I remember I was on a cruise with my mom and I made my first outline. And then I started to go and it just expanded more and more. But this was really written with passion, with my heart and my soul, and having to relive things and remember the pain. But I said, that's okay, because although it was painful to remember, it was difficult to remember. And yes, there was some pain that came back, not full force, but it came back. It gave me the opportunity to look from where I came from and realize how far I've come. And so I said, doing this brought me further in this journey, if I could share that with someone and help them make a better life for themselves, then that's enough reward for me.
That was really good.
You know, what you said about your diabetes book and you being a pediatrician, the opportunity to help children change their habits and not have to continue to grow up in that is powerful stuff.
Because you see it so often. It's sad. And some, but I have to explain to the parents that I can't blame your 5-year-old. I can't blame your 8-year-old. You bring the food. You cook this. You don't let them, you fill them up with computer and technology so that they get out of your hair. But then, so they stop exercising, they don't eat right, their weight is so massive that their body ages faster than they actually are, that they struggle with exercise, they struggle with breathing, and worst of all, in that age group, they struggle with self-esteem, because guess who are the targets of bullying? Them. So, it just by tweaking their lifestyle, if you can help not only to reverse their health, but help them grow up with a better self-esteem, then why not?
That's huge. That is really big.
I like how you give presence to one of the hardest things a human being can do is to be born.
Yeah.
I mean, just the infant mortality rate, all the chemical processes that have to come together just so that life can exist. Give presence to the miracle of life seen through your eyes.
Yes, and the fact that we were born, that was our very first success, because so many things could have gone wrong.
Oh my God, when you were telling those stories in your talk, it brought me back to my kids when I was birthing them. My third one, cord wrapped around his neck.
Ooh.
First one would not come out. He was stuck and had to be a C-section.
Emergency C-section.
Like, if we weren't in this day of technology,
exactly.
him and me would have died.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So even if we survive the miraculous formation without having disease come in and affect you, or an abnormality in your chromosome that changes who you are, even if we were to survive that and become a healthy, intact human baby ready to come out in this world, just the process of birth alone could have been complicated. And yet, you're here, I'm here, we survived. So that was our very first success.
I know, right? And so to me, and a negative RH.
Yeah. Oh,
so
wow.
She's got alien blood.
Oh, yes.
So like all three of my kids, or would have been.
Medical program,
Oh, she did.
So to me, it just makes me realize that wow, all three of my kids, you guys are all miracles.
We are all miracles. The fact that we are born is it. And when I was in medical school and I had to deliver babies, it's just like oh my God, this human life is coming here and I'm the first one to catch it, or the miracle of a birth, and I see this perfect little being come out, intact and whole, and that really just shows you there is a God,
right?
Or whatever you want to believe, higher being, it's the source.
Yeah, so that soul comes into this fragile entity, this body, and it goes through its journey, and along the way it has experiences. What are some of the greatest lessons and experiences that you have found in your human journey?
That life can throw you the biggest curveball, or they can put huge boulders, obstacles in front of you. But if you own your right to be great, to be successful, you own your worth, that I am a worthy human being. I am worthy of happiness. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of praise. I am worthy of affection. And you stick to that, then there's nothing you can't achieve.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that is good.
Now, you're very busy. You have a great practice. You're an author. You're a speaker. You do coaching. I was on your website, and I was like, what? You do coaching and mentoring? It's amazing, all of the things you do. Give presence to how people can get a hold of you, your website, and some of the things what's up in the world of Dr. Marga.
Well, everything is, I made it simple. So everything is Marga Macias, MD. So on Facebook, Marga Macias MD. For Instagram, Marga Macias MD. My email, margamaciasmd@gmail.com. My website, margamaciasmd.com. You can't get
They
lost.
should have gotten that.
And you have time to Instagram too?
Well, that's part of it, because I started off saying you're writing this, and then especially people who have read Birthright, they're saying, "Oh my God, we didn't realize that." And like I was mentioning in the talk, some bloggers and book reviewers actually got hold of it, and the word started to spread around. And for them, these critics to come back and say, it changed my life. It came to me just when I needed it, or it was so powerful for me. I said, oh, it's such a small book, but wow, did it pack punch, a punch. And then, that it resonated so much with me that I bought copies to share with my nieces, my nephews, my growing children. That for me is just such a reward to know that if I can help, not even change a life or transform a life or redirect them from turmoil and despair and negativity to knowing that there is hope, that they have the strength and the power within them, that they can make it, they can succeed, then why not?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, so good.
At the end of the episode, we like the guest to leave us with, if there's one thing you took away from all of my work, it's this thing. So what would that be for you?
Just live your life to the fullest. Own your worth.
Yeah.
And you can do anything you set your mind to. So don't be discouraged by the pain that you go through. Don't be discouraged by the hurt and the obstacles, because they all have a purpose in your life. Now, you can choose to let it destroy you. You can choose to let it help you grow. And failure is a matter of perspective, You can be so hard on yourself, or you can say, okay, what did I learn from this now? So every time I'm faced with a major heartache or pain, instead of saying, why me? The old me, why me? Why is this happening again? I ask myself, what am I to learn from this now?
Because it's happening for you.
Yes, it's happening for you, and there's a reason why it's happening again, or it's happening to you for the first time.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Dr. Marga, you're an inspiration. Awesome. Thank you for sharing your journey with us, and I can't wait to see what happens next in your life.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. Namaste.
Thanks for joining us here on Exploring the Human Journey. You can find us as a video on YouTube or listen to us as a podcast. You can also join in the conversation by following us on Facebook and Instagram. For more information, go to the website at exploringthehumanjourney.com.